И этот спикер из солнечной Грузии. Это будет единственный доклад на английском языке. Это Гела Баршови, управляющий партнер TPsolution, юридической фирмы из Грузии, автор-контрибутор Forbes. И я попросил его сделать доклад, такой вот overview of Georgian tax system, обзор налоговой системы Грузии, поскольку Грузия очень интересна нам, криптонам, что там у них, и интересно нам, белорусам, потому что релокация. Ну, о Грузии мы знаем очень мало, кроме того, что это страна майнинга. У нас Алекс Судадзе будет сегодня в панели рассказывать. А вот Гела тот человек, который изучил налоговую систему Грузии вообще для бизнеса и для криптонов в частности, и он нам сейчас все это доложит. Гела Гамаджова, Гагимаджо Сакартвело. Hope everything is all right in Georgia. Do you hear us? Do you hear us? Say something. Oh,
just muted. He's muted.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much. So, Gela, please turn on, share your screen, start your presentation, and tell some words about who you are. Why are you responsible to talk about the Georgian legal and tax system?
Yes. So, do you see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Shortly about myself. I'm in taxation already 10 years. Since 2010, when I was 21, I'm a former tax inspector of Georgia. 7 years I worked in Georgian tax administration, so I was conducting international and Georgian tax audit myself and leading a group of auditors. So I have done any type of audit what can be conducted in Georgia. So I also worked in Austria as international tax professional. I worked in Germany, Leipzig, as a senior international tax expert. I graduated LLM Master of International Tax Law in Vienna, Austria. And currently, as you mentioned again, I'm a managing partner at TPsolution, so a company which is in charge of providing services, tax-related, financial-related, law-related services. Yes, so currently I wrote an article for Bloomberg about cryptocurrency taxation. So in this presentation, I will try to, for half an hour is not enough to make a full overview of Georgian tax law, but I try to make, let's say, accent on the most important issues which might help you to have general understanding of how Georgian tax system works. Of course, if we will have more questions, you can just reach out to me and we can discuss in personal level. So the topics which I'm going to cover during this presentation, just tax rates in Georgia, just to have an idea what tax rates apply, and there are some exceptions, incentives, and I will talk about them. Corporate income tax, I decided to put it as a separate topic because we have a special regime, not ordinary regime of corporate income tax, and I will explain what does it mean. We have quite many tax exemptions and incentives for both individuals and legal entities, and I will try to list the most important FM. Georgian tax residency rule, it is important because some tax exemption which you find out in this presentation cannot be fully enjoyed without becoming a tax resident in Georgia. Because if you are a resident elsewhere, maybe other jurisdiction will claim your worldwide taxation. So you need to know at least how the tax residency system works in a country. Taxation of cryptocurrency in brief. So I will overview the decree of Ministry of Finance and the tax code, which talks about cryptocurrency taxation. And DAB taxation treaties, that is important. I will talk with two words. It is important because protection by international tax treaty is always much stronger than protection by a local tax law. So corporate income tax is 15%. That is not like high, but it's medium, it's lower than medium, but the system is different, which I will talk in more details later. Just to say, just to make some introduction, You don't pay corporate income tax annual basis in Georgia. You don't pay until you take out your money from a company. So if you decide to keep your money, you pay nothing until you take money out. If you decide to reinvest, you pay nothing. So I will talk a bit later in the next slide. Personal income tax, ordinary rate is 20%, but also 510% apply. 5% for real estate business, renting out residential property, selling residential property. 1% taxation is very good benefit, which many service provider individual can benefit. And I would like to make quite a strong emphasis on this aspect of Georgian tax exemption incentives, because many individuals really can be taxed at as low rate as 1%, who are providing service remotely and for whom it really does not matter where they are located. So they just can relocate to Georgia and enjoy only 1% taxation, nothing else, 1%. And zero taxation on foreign source income, and I will try to explain what does it mean. VAT and reverse VAT is applicable in Georgia. It is 18%. Withholding tax on wages, it is 20%, plus contribution to pension fund is applicable, 4% in total. 2% is for employer, 2% is paid by employee, deducted from a salary. Withholding tax on dividend, 5%, applies to both residents and non-residents. Interest withholding tax is 5%. I think it's also quite low, and this all withholding taxes paid to non-residents can be further decreased with application of a tax treaty signed by Georgian government. Withholding tax on royalty paid to non-resident is also 5%. Withholding tax on service remuneration to non-resident is 10%, but there are some exceptions if Georgia has a list of so-called offshore countries, tax haven countries or zones. So if a company is registered in an offshore country, then higher withholding tax rate applies. So that's kind of anti-avoidance rule applicable in Georgia, because it is the same 15% as a corporate income tax rate. So that companies do not have motivation to artificially increase their expenses via offshore companies. So that's something you probably need to know. Property tax is not, in my opinion, very high. It's zero if you have income until 40,000 lari. It's about $12,000-$13,000. It is from 0.05% to 0.2% if your assets value. If you have income from 40,000 to 100,000 lari, which is around 100,000 lari is around $30,000, and up to 1% from 0.8 to 1% if you have more than 100,000 lari income. Property, but for resident, if you are non-resident, only income received from Georgia is calculated. And property tax for legal entities is up to 1%. So, corporate tax regime in Georgia. As I said, it is 15%, but if you plan to reinvest your money, for example, you a registered company, by the way, register it in one day and just go to public service hall or give someone a power of attorney. For example, a firm like TPsolution can give power of attorney and register on your behalf. Registration takes place just in one day. It can be the same day as well, and you don't need a capital contribution. Like you can start a company without zero capital, and it's really easy process. Just to say, through your Georgian company, and let's say you get $100,000 profit. If you want to like buy apartment, let's say, or do new business in Georgia, real estate business. And if you buy this apartment through your company, by your company, you don't pay any tax. Is payable only if you distribute the dividend. So if you do not distribute dividend to the shareholder, you don't pay nothing. So in most of the countries, this is so-called Estonian model. As I know, only in Estonia and in Georgia, such model is applicable. And so in every other countries, in most of other countries, annual basis, you got profit $100,000, you pay 15%, does not matter, you take money or not. In Georgia, it does not work like that. Your profit is not payable until you take your money. So that is really beneficial if you plan to reinvest and grow your business. So in that case, you pay zero corporate income tax. Here I should note that there are transactions listed in Georgian tax code, which is deemed to be equivalent of distribution of dividend. So that's because to, it's anti-avoidance rule, kind of, not to manipulate this rule. So that, for example, if you take loan to your share, if you give loan to your shareholder, that's can be qualified as a distribution of dividend with the right of deduction if a loan will be returned later. So that's something to bear in mind. Not only the form, only just I distribute dividend, okay, that is taxable operation, but there are some other operations which are deemed equivalent to be a distribution of dividend and the base of taxation. Zero taxation. So Georgia applies so-called territorial principle for individuals, not illegal entities, but for individual, natural persons. It means that if you are a resident of Georgia and if you earn money abroad, you are not taxed in Georgia for this money. If income is qualified as foreign source income, according to Georgian tax code, Georgian tax code provides a definition. It is Article 104, according to which you can decide whether the income is foreign or Georgian source. You should not understand foreign source income like literally any income which comes from abroad. That does not work like that. You should look to the article, and if your income is qualified as foreign source income, you don't have any taxation in Georgia. For example, dividend, if you are a resident of Georgia and receive dividend from abroad, from foreigner company, or if you receive interest from foreigner company, or if you receive capital gain from selling shares in foreigner company or pension from foreign funds, in most cases you are exempted in Georgia. So Georgia is a perfect place for someone who are trading, for traders. Traders who are earning money in buying stocks and selling stocks or buying bonds and getting interest, etc., they will not be taxed in Georgia. But just I want to tell you that please always every case needs to be discussed individual basis, because you need to look to the case, you need to look to the article defining the source of income of Georgia, and after that you decide whether it is qualified as a foreign source income. As long as it's qualified, it is exempted, zero taxation. So just to make a short overview, this is really good for traders. Plus zero taxation of selling cryptocurrency. Like you bought cryptocurrency, I will discuss it later as well in more detail. You are a natural person, individual. You bought cryptocurrency, let's say for early for $100. And now you sold it for $10,000. You got profit $9,900. If you are Georgia resident and you get money, you are exempted from this profit. You pay nothing. So here you should pay attention, and I will talk about this topic in the next slides. For this, it's really important to become Georgian resident. Otherwise, if you are resident, let's say if UK, does not matter if you are resident also of Georgia, because its problem will be that UK might claim your taxation for worldwide income. So if you, for example, if you plan to realize your profit from cryptocurrency, if you plan to sell your cryptocurrency, exchange it into fiat, then it's maybe better for you to, for some time at least, relocate to Georgia, become Georgian resident, and when you live as a country residency, when you realize your profit, this profit will not be taxable by other jurisdictions. So neither will be taxed in Georgia. So we can economy tremendous amount of tax expenses in case if you have a Bitcoin bought earlier and if you plan to resell it now or soon. So 1% taxation, I want to also talk about that in more detail because it is also very important. Maybe someone is not trader. About traders I talked about crypto I also talked, which I will talk again. And someone who just provides service, IT service, management service, designer service, translation service. And they do remotely. It does not matter for them. They provide service from Belarus, from UK, from America. They do anyway by computer online, right? In that situation, they can relocate to Georgia and they will be taxed only at 1%. For which it's necessary to obtain a so-called small business status. You just go to tax administration and you get certificate. And it's important that your income is not more than $500,000 Georgian lari, which is around 160,000 USD. But notably, if you exceed 1 year this threshold, $500,000 Georgian lari, it's not a reason for revoking your status. So it can be still taxed by 1%. Only 3% applies after $500,000. Let's say you got 800,000 Georgian lari income this year, first year. So for $500,000, you pay 1% tax. For rest, 300,000, you pay 3% tax. But you still have a status of small business. So from next year, you will continue paying 1%. But next year, you should not exceed $500,000 threshold. Otherwise, you will lose from the next year. You will lose status of 1% taxation. So this is, in my opinion, very important because there are many people, many entrepreneurs, individuals who are doing business remotely, and they are paying for sometimes 40% effective tax, 20%, 25, 30. So they just can enjoy as low taxation as only 1%. Again, 5% is tax on individual income, personal income tax on selling residential property or renting out residential property. If you are interested in a real estate business and if you buy apartment and sell it, you will be taxed only at 5%, 0% on capital gain. If you buy apartment in 2020 and if you resell apartment in 2023, after having it, owning it 2 years, at least 2 years, you are exempted from any tax. Also, if you buy any assets and if you resell it after 2 years, you are exempted. But the precondition for any other assets is that you should not use it in economic activity during these 2 years. And VAT, if you sell 4 apartments during 4 years, let's say if you sell 1 apartment in 1 year during 4 years or 4 apartments in 1 year, you are exempted from VAT. You don't pay any VAT. So that's also, in my opinion, quite beneficial for someone interested in real estate business. For legal entities, special regime of corporate income tax, which I already discussed. Virtual zone persons, applicable for IT companies. IT company providing service from Georgia to abroad is exempted from corporate income tax. They pay 0 corporate income tax if they obtain a status certificate of virtual zone persons, which is not very difficult. To be honest, it's quite easy to obtain this status. International companies, also applicable for IT firms and the shipping business. That is newly introduced just in October this month. It means that international companies are taxed by 5% corporate income tax but they also, in addition, can decrease their profit base, corporate income tax based by expenses, additional expenses like salary expenses, R&D expenses. So they might end up the year with 0 corporate income tax, 5% wage tax instead of 20, 0% dividend tax instead of 5, and a 0% property tax in many assets. So at the end of the day, they might only pay 5%. So in my opinion, this virtual zone person, international company status are very highly beneficial for IT companies. And I think many IT firms still do not know about those benefits, because there are not many countries, cooperative countries. Georgia is not like blacklisted country. Georgia is a very cooperative country, and it's not like offshore country, right? And not many countries offer such benefit for IT companies. It is full exemption. Free industrial zones. There are zones in Georgia, if you register a company there, for many activities, not all, unfortunately, so far for some services, it does not apply. You get corporate income tax 0 and many other tax benefits, about which we can talk individual basis, because it would take too long time to discuss every benefit. Special trade companies, if someone, as a company is involved in export-import business, and if I re-export goods from Georgia, no corporate income tax on such profit, and no VAT on selling cryptocurrency. So there is a law, there is a decree of Minister of Finance, which determines now from 2021, it will be written in a tax code that no VAT is applicable on selling cryptocurrency. So that's regulated. There is a high certainty about that, so everyone can know that if a company or an individual sells crypto in Georgia, they will not be taxed by VAT. So residency rule in short. 103 days need to be spent within 12 consecutive months. What does it mean? You don't need, if you calculate residency for 2020, let's say, you don't need to spend 183 days in 2020, but the day spent in 2019 also takes part into calculation. For example, I have example, a person stayed in Georgia from September 1st, 2019 until 15 March 2020. So it is more than 6.5 months, which is more than, of course, 183 days. But 4 months stayed in 2019 and 2.5 months person stayed in 2020. Despite more time was spent in 2019, a person is a resident, a tax resident of Georgia in 2020, because how we calculate? From March 2020, we calculate last 12 consecutive months, like from March 2019 until March 2020. So if a person was more than 183 days during this period, you are a tax resident. But if you do not want to spend so much time in Georgia, there are another option. It's called so-called high net worth individual tax residency. It means the following. If a person has assets, owns assets at least 3 million Georgian lari, which is less than 1 million USD, 950 approximately, or receives annual income in last 3 years at least 200,000 Georgian lari, which is around $60,000 last 3 years, each year. This person can obtain tax residency in Georgia even without spending 1 day there. So if a person has so much assets or income in last 3 years, and plus they should be a residence permit, we should have a residence permit of Georgia, or earn at least 25,000 lari, about $7,000 in this calendar year. This last condition is easily reachable, it can be easily satisfied. The most important is that if a person owns high value assets or earns a high value income, they will be able to apply for tax residency and receive it even without spending one day in the country. So taxation of cryptocurrency. So I already discussed it in brief. There are not many details providing in the decree of Ministry of Finance published in last year, but I think the most important factors are already regulated. It is important because first of all, you have certainty, tax certainty. You don't have this problem with, okay, I go to a country and I don't know how I will be taxed, how it will be understood from tax purposes. You know what to tax, you know what to pay, at least. So you have a law which regulates the taxation of Georgia, of cryptocurrency. So what does this law say? As I already said, for natural person individuals, it is zero taxation. Let's say I bought Bitcoin, as I already said, for let's say $1,000. I sold it for $10,000. I have my profit $9,000. And if I'm Georgian resident, I sell it in Georgia. I receive money on my Georgian accounts. I'm not taxed in Georgia because it is considered as a foreign source income. And the decree of the Ministry of Finance explicitly says that such income is foreign source income, therefore zero taxation applies. So no VAT is applicable because VAT is, there is VAT exemption for both individuals and legal entities, and no corporate personal income tax is applicable. So you get $9,000, let's say $9,000 profit for each Bitcoin, and you pay nothing, no tax. So let's say if you have 10 Bitcoin, 90,000 Georgia as USD and no tax. So that's why Georgia is a very attractive for crypto people, crypto enthusiasts, and I don't know if any country offers such benefit. And but here you should note that just coming to Georgia and selling this might not work perfectly, because you should take care of another jurisdiction as well. Because usually most of the country tax worldwide taxation of individuals. It's not like Georgia. Georgia takes only territorial taxation. But if you are a resident of UK and just come to Georgia for 2 months and sell cryptocurrency, maybe you will have to tax this income in UK as well. So beware that you have no problem with taxation in another jurisdiction. So you relocate for some time in Georgia. That's the best option, in my opinion. And you realize your profit. You have your capital gain, your profit already realized in Georgia on Georgian bank account, etc. And this profit is not taxable anywhere. So it's not taxable in Georgia for sure, because the law explicitly provides this provision, and it will not be taxable also in other jurisdiction if you will residency for some time there. It's important to take attention to this issue, because some people think, okay, you are exempted in Georgia. It's not very solved. It's not a fully, the problem is not fully solved, because you also have to take attention to another jurisdiction. Companies pay normal tax. So if no individual, I already discussed. If a company buys Bitcoin for $1,000 and sells it for 10,000, and company has a capital gain 9,000, company pays tax, but only in case if they distribute dividend. If they just put money and keep money in their account, they pay nothing. If they reinvest profit in Georgia, for example, they get profit and they decided to start new business and reinvest in real estate, for example, or other business, this money is not taxable also. So normal system of taxation of cryptocurrency applies. So normal system of taxation of corporate income tax applies to cryptocurrency for corporations. Only exceptions applies only to individuals. That's important to note. Selling crypto is exempted from VAT. I already said it. It applies to both individuals and legal entities. You pay no VAT for selling crypto. If you are selling hash power, computational power, it's considered for VAT purposes as a service provision. Wherever there is a law, section of VAT in the tax code of Georgia, and it has different approaches for different type of services. So for VAT purposes, it is electronic service. So if you provide it from Georgia to Georgian company, that's taxable by VAT. If you provide from Georgia to abroad, it is exempted by VAT. So this is the approach is as to a normal type of service. And as I already said, cryptocurrency taxation is regulated by the official document. This document is a decree of a public decision of the Ministry of Finance. And from 2021, next year, the exemption of VAT will be also regulated by Georgian tax code. So officially, there is exemption from VAT. There is exemption for individuals on capital gain. There is normal taxation of corporations on capital gain, but please bear in mind that corporations in Georgia do not pay tax annual basis. They can be exempted tax if they plan to grow their business and recapitalize. So that's buy new equipment, start new business. So until they take money out to an individual, so distribute dividends, they don't pay any corporate income tax in Georgia. And tax treaties. Tax treaty is important because sometimes when you earn money as a service, let's say, it's important that you are protected by tax treaty as well. Because if you earn money, let's say from abroad, maybe you don't pay tax in Georgia or pay low tax in Georgia, but you might be taxed at source in another jurisdiction. So protection by international tax treaty is important. Georgia has quite a rich network of tax treaties, just 56 countries so far, and soon we will have a treaty with Hong Kong. It's already negotiated, it just needs a ratification. The tax treaties are available in the official website of the Ministry of Finance of Georgia, MOFG. And importantly, unfortunately, we don't have tax treaty with USA so far, with Canada, and we don't have with Russia. So about USA, it's a bit strange because USA recognizes our tax treaty, but we don't recognize it. The problem is that USA recognized Georgian tax treaty as a successor of a USA tax treaty, which is not recognized from Georgia's side. So it's kind of a one-sided treaty. So you can probably get a benefit from USA side, but you will not get benefit from Georgian side. Just bear in mind. But we have tax treaty with most of European countries, with Japan, etc. 56 advanced countries, with India, with China, etc. So that was a presentation. I will make just a very brief overview of what I talked about and what might be very interesting for you. Cryptocurrency. If you gain your profit from selling crypto, you are not taxed in Georgia as an individual. If you provide crypto, you are not taxed by VAT. It applies to both individual and legal entities. You can be taxed at 0%, no taxation, if you trade. For example, if you are a trader, if you trade stocks, if you buy bonds and get interest from abroad, if you get dividends from abroad or capital gain from reselling your stocks, shares, so that's also exemption. So Georgia does not tax foreign source income. Georgia does not apply worldwide taxation for individuals, which is exceptional rule. We have special regime of corporate income tax, which means that you don't pay any tax until you distribute your dividend. So if you plan to reinvest, you grow your business, reinvest, you pay no corporate income tax. We have special regimes for corporations, which are very beneficial, especially for IT companies. It's like tax haven for IT companies. We have two possible status, one is virtual zone person, zero corporate income tax. instead of 15, or international companies file very low taxation. And we have free industrial zone where business are exempted from taxation. Plus 1% taxation for individuals. It's important. If you earn around $160,000 $500,000 Georgian lari per year, and you provide service, but it does not apply to all service. For example, consultation should not be qualified, but training service or IT service or other services up to $500,000 Georgian lari is exempt, is taxed only by 1%. You just need to obtain a status of small business, and you will not need to pay more than 1%. That was my presentation. So if you have more questions, just we can discuss it in an individual basis. But so far, I think it was enough to help you to have a general understanding how the tax system in Georgia works.
Thank you very much, and great madloba for you, Gela Barshovi, for your excellent presentation. Now we have another view. Unfortunately, we have not so much time for questions, but I think people who are interested in Georgia will contact you personally because you have made an excellent presentation. Thank you very much. Have a good day. And congratulations with the 12th anniversary of Bitcoin. How it will have been changing our life.